especially as relates to land and business disputes and contract enforcement. Things like security, electricity, and transport and communications infrastructure has been expanded throughout the country and dedicated to areas of industrial production and high investor presence. Registering businesses, obtaining permits, licenses, and approvals is cheaper, faster, and much more transparent, consistent, and predictable. Kenya has always been attractive as an investment destination and hub for regional integration activities across many sectors. Recent interventions have yielded improvements in the business environment that have rapidly and solidly positioned Kenya as a compelling investment destination. A prime example of the potential that Kenya holds as a competitive business environment and investment destination has to be the great county of Nakuru. In fact, Nakuru County should be the premier investment destination and industrial hub in Kenya. Endowed with tremendous valuable natural resources and wildlife, this county is also a cosmopolitan magnet for high numbers of enterprising, innovative, and capable human capital. Fertile soils enable Nakuru to be perennially productive in high-value crops, including such horticultural offerings as pyrethrum and cut flowers, as well as the large-scale production of maize, barley, and wheat. It also enables the county to have sufficient pasture for ranch and farmed animals in large numbers. Geothermal power is in abundance makes Nakuru the home of Kenya's globally commanding position as a producer of clean, green energy. The decision by Nakuru County government to leverage that necessary and decisive connection between natural resources endowment on one hand and industrial growth on the other hand is a strong signal of the leadership resolve and determination to place Nakuru and Kenya on the global investment and competitiveness map. As further evidence of the firmness of this resolve, the county has adopted a strategy of close collaboration with the private sector, as we've seen here, and universities in a plan that will surely result in the evolution of efficient industrial clusters, which will ensure that Nakuru's productivity and competitiveness will be sustainable and consistent. I am therefore strongly encouraged to learn that the Oserian Industrial Park, situated on 1,650 acres, Egerton Agro City on 1,000 acres, as well as Kabarak Agro and Smart City on 2,000 acres. Often, we talk much about public-private partnerships, but the Nakuru instance shows the scale to which these beneficial partnerships should be deployed for optimal transformational impact. Hongera Lee Kinyanjui and your government, you have done well and the future looks very good. The national government's sustained commitment to Kenya's socio-economic transformation through expanded manufacturing and industrial capacity, growth of exports and agro-industrial productivity, and support for service industry growth is aimed at enabling the entire country replicate the Nakuru example of seizing opportunities on sufficient scale to turn around the lives of millions. The Big Four agenda focuses on selected drivers of high-impact growth in terms larger agenda of making sustainable development a reality in the lives of the largest number of our people. The alignment of this conference, as well as Nakuru's overall development objectives with a Big Four agenda, is evident and commendable. The national government will continue to secure favorable agreements in various markets to make it easy for local manufacturers to export and grow. Kenya's membership of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area has been ratified, which will open up access to a market of over 1 billion people and a combined GDP of over $3.4 trillion. Women, youth, as well as small and medium enterprises in Nakuru will grow and become the engine of growth in tandem with industrial production. The government will continue to support counties by promoting the development of small and medium-sized enterprises, expanding technical and vocational training, and ensuring shared prosperity. The establishment of an inland cargo depot in this county, just down the road in Naivasha, will transform Nakuru into the logistic hub of the greater North Rift. It will also expedite transport of people and goods by reducing costs and delays. The government is keen to collaborate with counties in such visionary and transformative strategies. Once again, congratulations, Governor and County Government of Nakuru, for a good start. Kenya keenly awaits the fruits of your excellent efforts. I salute all those who have made this event successful. I especially commend the thoughtful profiling of this event to reflect our important aspirations. Thank you for sparing time to make it here. And before I conclude, I would want to respond to one or two issues that have been raised here while I was sitting. The issue of Nakuru as a conference destination, and the fact that many hotels have been developed in this city by the private sector, is a case that calls on us as government to review our policy so that we do not disadvantage investors in this county, especially in this town of Naivasha. I therefore undertake that we will review our government policy to bring back Nakuru and Naivasha to where it was, so that we can catalyze investments in the hotel industry in this city as we do the rest of the items that we must do. Secondly, I want to commit also that the spur of the SGR that will come to this city of Naivasha is already underway, and to make sure that Nakuru doesn't just become the hub of, or Naivasha does not just become the hub of Nakuru County, but an international gateway. As you are all aware, we've now signed the onward construction of the railway from Naivasha all the way to the Lake City of Lake Victoria in Kisumu, but also we are engaged in refurbishing the meter gauge railway through Nakuru to Eldoret to Kitale. So you should not be discouraged that the SGR is not going to Nakuru town or to Eldoret or to Kitale. I think there is a plan for how that is going to happen, at least by ensuring that the meter gauge is improved to a standard that it would serve those areas as we manage costs. And lastly, I hope we have keenly listened to the presentation by the PS for trade, actually. And I hope that many of our leaders will listen to the export trajectory that Kenya is focused on. When we began the whole story of the SGR, and our target was this great city of Nakuru, and when we announced that Nakuru was going to be a big city, and Naivasha would specifically be a city that will house industrial, a national industrial park, many people, some people, let me say, misunderstood us, thinking that we wanted to relocate the port from Mombasa to Naivasha. Nothing could be further from the truth. We want to take advantage of the centrality of Naivasha, the huge resource we have in the geothermal, to expand our production of exports. That is at the heart of the transformation of Kenya. And I am happy that the private sector, and I have listened very keenly to Serian, and I agree that there couldn't have been a better ambassador, not for Naivasha or Nakuru, but for Kenya. A very reasoned, seasoned presentation that actually captures the centrality of what Kenya presents to the world as an investment destination. I want to encourage the county, the governor is sitting here, to interrogate that export strategy and position this county as we position the country to tap into the tremendous opportunity that exists for exports and the transformation that comes with the location of those markets. In fact, His Excellency the President is in Arusha specifically to expand our market for export. The President was in China for the China Expo, and the primary thing he went to do is to ensure that we open the Chinese market to Kenyan exports. As we expand market for export, counties must be positioning production to feed into the export market that the government is looking for. Otherwise, it will be a wasted effort. And real transformation, if we have to grow our manufacturing from, as we envisage, 9 to 15%, if we have to grow our GDP by double digits, the solution, the key, is in our export strategy and how we position our products, how we make them competitive so that we can be able to access those markets. I had some people talking the other day about what we need to do about the Big Four. The Big Four is the single biggest program that is aimed at moving the country forward, whether it's from housing, through to universal health care, through to food production, all the way to manufacturing. And for Nakuru, there is huge scope for you to tap into the Big Four. In terms of food production, apart from maize, we want to increase the contribution of our potato industry by 500%. We want to increase 5 times the production of potatoes in Kenya, and Nakuru is central to that production. we want to expand rice production in Kenya by 300%, so that we can expand our sources of starch and eliminate pressure from just maize. So that diversification narrative is what we are focusing in the Big Four. That's why we had the blue economy the other day, because we also want to get into our seas, oceans, and lakes and rivers to access more food. That is how we are going to have a food-secure nation. I heard some people say the other day that they are not interested in diversification because you cannot store avocados in a store, or you cannot feed avocados on initiates. I mean, who produces to go and keep in the store? People are producing for markets to export. Others are thinking of how to produce to go and put in a store. That is how low some of the people think in our country. But we need to encourage them so that they can see the bigger picture and they can see where this is going. We now have signed the phytosanitary agreement that will now make it possible for Kenyans to export macadamia, avocado, horticulture, tea, coffee, pyrethrum into the Chinese market. We can now access 1.3 billion market. That is transformational. That is where any responsible county government should be focusing. What is it? How do we tap into that market? That is where we should focus. I want to encourage the county government of Nakuru, as I do the rest of our county governments, to focus on our export strategy, because that will be the turning point for our economic fortunes as a country. And therefore, I want to thank you for sparing time to make it here. We do not take that for granted. At least I'm sure the governor does not. And again, His Excellency the President has told me that he will find time to still make up for the fact that he didn't make it here today, because Nakuru is a big place for us, especially on matters to do with development of industry. This weekend I will be traveling to Italy, and at the heart of that, of the conversation we'll be having in Italy, is two things: leather and textile. Both have a very strong relationship to what geothermal can do for us, to what Naivasha can do for us. These are important, and it ties in with why shortly we will be approving BT cotton for production in Kenya, so that we can bring most of our arid and semi-arid land into production and use the geothermal resource we have in Nakuru to drive our textile industry, as we do so to drive our leather industry as well. So we have tremendous opportunity to focus on agro-processing and the whole of that chain. So we will be working together, and it's unfortunate that I wouldn't be having Oserian on my trip. I would have made a lot of good use with their presentation. But next time I will make sure they are part of my delegation, because I think they have made a very solid case, better than any government official would have made. So with those many remarks, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, and God bless you. Because I won't be here for long, I will accept to take a few questions. I think
thank you very much.
I have been through so many exams, so I don't mind.
1, 2.
Yes, Mr.
1, 2.
Kiprono.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for, as usual, your very eloquent presentation on behalf of the government and His Excellency the President. I think there's no doubt that Nakuru is an outstanding destination for investment. And again, it is also very commendable that our government has been able to come up with this improvement in the ease of doing business index. Recently, the government announced that it was doing something about the issue of delayed payments.
Yes.
And really, it is at the heart of the challenges that our business community are facing today. If you visit the towns, particularly in the rural areas, even in the capital city of Nairobi, many businesses are facing bankruptcy. Homes are being broken. People are unable to pay taxes, and people are unable to expand their businesses. We appreciate that the government is looking at SMEs now. But I think at the heart of the problems and the challenges that face the business community is the delay in payments. What can you say about that, sir?
Maybe I can take one more. Yeah, my good brother.
Your Excellency, thank you, and I echo what Kiprono said. Fantastic presentation, and thank you for coming to Nakuru County. I also want to commend the government for the slide that we saw earlier on. We're now number 61 on the ease of doing business, and that is very, very good. From the time your administration took over in 2013, we've just seen that index improve tremendously, so congratulations and well done. But ease of doing business alone, without addressing the cost of doing business, is not going to work. And what fundamentally we need to do as an industry is address our fundamental competitiveness. And I think you also mentioned in your speech, if we're not competitive, and I was part of the team that went to China to make sure that we got this market access, but we can open the door, we can take you to the watering hole, but you have to drink that water yourself, and you can only drink that water if as an industry we are competitive. And if you look at the drivers of our costing or any cost sheet in any value stream, there are only 5 drivers. One is bill of materials, which our industry is largely buying at world price, and we can't complain on that because whatever China is buying or India is buying, Kenya would buy. But the other 4 pillars that add into your costing in any industry or any value stream is cost of logistics, the cost of utility, the cost of finance, and the labor productivity. Now, if you look at utility cost, unfortunately, we are probably the only country in the world if we have 3 profit centers in one utility company or in our energy company. We have KenGen, which is a profit center. We have Catraco, which is a profit center, our transmission company. And we have our distribution company, KPLC, which is a profit center. I don't know where in the world you have 3 profit centers in one cost item or one utility item, which is just making us uncompetitive. And that's the reason we need to think slightly differently so that we improve our overall competitiveness. Could you just highlight how we will work on the word competitiveness and how we can address the cost of doing business? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maybe let me answer those 2, and then I will take another 1 or 2.
Thank you.
I agree with you, the chair of Kenya Chamber of Commerce. I agree with you that we have had cases of delayed payments, which is hurting, especially the small and medium-sized companies, and even the AGBOs. We have tried to straighten this up. At the national level, there has been, yes, some delay in processing of monies that go to counties. We are in the process of working between government and the private sector so that we develop a code of practice which will make it mandatory that for any private sector supplier, the maximum amount of time that you should wait to pay will be agreed in that code of practice. Because we realize that we are actually hurting so much of our private sector by the way we operate as government. The regulations are ready. We've had discussions with the private sector. We want to find a middle ground where the private sector will supply government with services and goods, but they should have certainty on when they will be. The PS will explain this further if you want more details, but that discussion is already in place. The regulations have been developed so that we can agree on how government and the private sector can partner in ensuring that government service, government programs, whatever we need to deliver is delivered on time and paid for on time. The second issue that has been mentioned by my good brother about not just because competitiveness has the ease of doing business and the cost of doing business. We've tried to address both of them as we do the ease of doing business. We've cut down on so much red tape. We have reduced many of the fees that was paid initially by the private sector to access government service. As you are aware, we've tried to squeeze in the many levies that were levied by government agencies. We have tried to reduce them by half so that you have less stops to be able to access government service, have this license, and created the Huduma Center so that we can centralize government service to one-stop shop, kind of, so that you can access all that government service in one place. And that is what progressively has moved us from position 136 to position 61. It has taken many hours. I've had many breakfast meetings with the entirety of government sectors to be able to hammer this into the position we are in. We've made progress. There is a lot of room to do even better. And our target is that we must come below 50. That is what we undertook in 2013. We haven't reached position 50, but as you can see, we are very well on the way there. From 136 to 61. 50 is just another 9 positions to get there. But on matters to do with cost, the reason why we invested in the cost of moving it around. And today you accept that it's faster, it's cheaper to move goods the SVR. That is not. But we try to invest significantly in road network. In the last 5 years, we have constructed, either completed or in the process of completing, about 7,000 kilometers of new tarmac around the country. Again, to reduce the cost of transport so that we reduce the cost of doing business. I agree with you that we still have a challenge on cost of power. The first step we took is we said for industry, in the evening, to encourage production off-peak, we've said 50%. You will pay 50% if you operate your industry outside the peak hours. That is ongoing. But I know we still need to deal with the cost of power. But there is good news. There is good news. We were doing PPAs at 12 US cents. Actually, it was at 35 US cents. We came to 20 US cents. We came to 12 US cents. The good news is that we are now heading to 6 and 5 6 and 5 US cents per kilowatt hour. And with that, we should be able to reduce the cost of power by half. In fact, we have given instructions that there will be no new power purchase agreement that will be signed that goes beyond 6 US cents, so that we can be able to halve the cost of power. You can see the biggest selling point of Oserian is the cost of power and the steam that they can use for secondary production. So that is the direction in which we are going. I cannot promise that it will take a year, but I want to promise you that we are heading in that direction. Yeah? So as we address the ease of doing business, we equally are focused on addressing the cost of doing business so that we can truly become competitive. Because it is by being competitive that we will be able to tap into new markets, because the cost of our products will be competitive and we can penetrate all the markets that we are looking up to. So I think those are the two issues I wanted.
Your Excellency.
Can I take a question from a lady?
Yes, Your Excellency. As I walk to the lady, Your Excellency, could I kindly ask for a question off the back of what you've said? Is there a lady, please, so that I can come to a lady?
Ladies, you need
ladies
to up
at
your
the back.
game. Ladies.
There's a lady at the back.
Yes.
Your Excellency, are there any plans to use geothermal for competitive advantage with regard to reducing power? Where's the back? Where? Stand, please. Oh, there. Ah.
Thank you. And as the lady, give her the microphone, I should be able to answer you as she waits. The reason why we have substantially reduced the cost of power is because of geothermal, because we've had more geothermal in our grid than before. We have continuously replaced geothermal power with diesel power in our grid, and that is substantially impacting on the cost of power that is available to the public. So geothermal is a major component of us reducing the cost of power.
And hopefully in the future plans to buy some of the excess that Oserian might have into the national grid?
Absolutely.
Excellent, thank you. Here, I have the lady, sir.
Thank you, Your Excellency, the Deputy President, all protocol observed. I'm Jane Karanja, an investor in the tour industry, the tour operators, exactly. And our main concern is the road network, which is really giving us a challenge in the maintenance of our vehicles. If that would be looked into, especially into our national parks and also to the lakes, we would really be glad, because I know it's a national and a county duty. Again, as an investor on the agricultural side, you've mentioned about the BT cotton. And we know we have issues on the BT cotton when we come to the technology. Maybe I'd just like you to clarify to us, which technology are we intending to use here in Kenya? Is it going towards the GMO? Thank you.
Can I pick another question, Your Excellency?
Possibly, madam. Maybe even the sweater you are wearing is actually made from BT cotton. High chances. The chances are the cloth you are putting on now is actually GMO. So we are already right in the middle of this GMO story. And that is why, as a government, we have taken the necessary steps to ensure that the trials, the national trials, have taken place. We are now in the stage of commercializing BT cotton. It is not for consumption yet. We are not yet in that direction. It is just for matters to do with cotton and textile. So that is the direction in which we are going. On your second item on matters to do with road network, I agree with you that we should be focused. As you are aware, the road to Masai Mara, for example, for a very long time was in bad shape. We have now almost done 70% of 80 kilometers of tarmac into Masai Mara. We are looking at the other circuits of tourism circuits around the country. Maybe I should let you know that the access road also to Meru National Park is in the works. In fact, I discussed about it this week, and we are releasing money to do that. And we are continuing, as we build the road network around the country, we keep an eye in ensuring that it also targets areas of production and areas that give us revenue, including tourism. Yes, Madam, last question.
Yes, thank you very much, Your Excellency. My name is Eunice Mamasoko, a resident of Naivasha. I would like to put my question towards that. We would like Naivasha Nakuru to become a 24-hours economy. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that facilitates the movement of people about in Naivasha is the Lake Naivasha, which feels a bit threatened. We have corridors going to it that have essentially been closed up by private investors who probably have been followed up and the cases have not yet been finished. What is the government going to do towards the lake, which is the biggest provider even for the flower farms around here, to be able to rescue the lake and to also make it an economic hub whereby we can have tourism on fishing and even businesses around the lake, because we have a big riparian land. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam. Again, your Member of Parliament, Jane, here can bear me testimony. Your governor here, Liki Nanjui, can also confirm that we have been in discussion as late as last week on corridors to Lake Naivasha. And we are working as both national and county government to ensure that those corridors remain open and those that have been grabbed are returned back, and some that are on private land, we buy back some of that land that is on, if it is private, but it is a good place to do corridor. So we are very keen on what happens to Lake Naivasha. And I want to thank the county government. They are very well seized of that matter. Your own Member of Parliament has been in discussion with us, ensuring that Lake Naivasha becomes what it should be, a source of economic activity for this town. And on your second issue of making sure that these two cities are connected, Nakuru, maybe Gilgil and Naivasha, I think the county government, when they come up with a spatial plan and on what they want to do, I want to give you our commitment as national government that we will be partners in ensuring that we implement what program you come up with. And especially on matters to do with the industrial parks, I want to also commit that we will ensure that we create a special economic zone in this city so that we can increase the number of investments and make it that much more easy for investment destination. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, our chief guest. for indulging us in taking the questions and also for the insights that you've shared with us. Just so that you're aware of what's going to happen next and you're at liberty to make the choice you need to make based on the busy schedule, I'd like to welcome up Abel Rotich, please if you'll come. Pierce Rotich, please if you'll come. Mr. Kiprono Kitonyi, please if you'll come up. And Dr. Kipto. And I'm going to ask one question. Karibu, Bwana Kitonyi. I'm going to ask one simple question with two parts, so that these gentlemen, who are our panelists for a session that might have been a little too long, but I'd like to try and make it brief, can give us their insights into geothermal energy being used as a competitive advantage. Thereafter, we will break for lunch, and after we break for lunch, we will come back for the sessions that we mentioned. But Your Excellency, we understand, and thank you for making the time. Thank you. We don't all have to leave. Your Excellency doesn't need all your help. Thank you. MCAs, please, you can stay with us. Let us proceed. Oh, you have to go. So, give me the microphone. Thank you. Can I say thank you to each one of you for your patience? I think the way please, Karibu. The way I've structured it, we should be able to be done in just a few minutes. I primarily want to thank Abel and Pius and Kiprono. Thank you so much for making the time. So, could we have some order kindly? Shh. Thank you. As